One thing we're going to want to do in our onComplete function later on is to embed our assets and set our game settings. So let's put placeholders in for that before doing anything else. Embed assets here, and init game settings here. Okay, great. We're going to have one screen in our game, but Gingy's advanced screen manager lets you easily juggle as many screens as you want. It essentially takes care of all aspects of multi-screen management. Under our source folder, let's create another package called com gingy deep turtle. This will hold all of the classes we're going to create. Inside here, let's create a screens package. Screens. While you can arrange your application folder structure any way you wish, we highly recommend a very organized, easy to understand structure to make your own life easier. And we'll place a new game screen class here. Let's quickly set up our game screen and then we'll initialize it in our main class. Inside our game screen class, we're going to want it to extend GUI basic screen. This is a Gingy class and it makes your life easier by automatically taking care of screen initialization and cleanup. It also has some nifty transitions like fade, skew, swipes, and even 3D transitions. In our main function in game screen, we'll have a few parameters we have to pass through. It should look like this. Game screen ID string, transition, iTransition. Basically, we're giving our screen an identifying string and we're setting its transition. Inside this function, let's type super ID screen transition and bracket semicolon. And finally, let's override some of the functions available in GUI basic screen. The reason is we'll be calling all of the characteristics from these functions superclasses, but we'll be adding some functionality. So let's type override public function init and then super.init to invoke the supers init class. The init function is where we'll place everything we want to occur on initial screen opening. We'll do the same for clear. The clear function clears everything on the screen. And then we'll override the public function reset. The reset is where we place everything we want to occur every time the screen is reopened. And lastly, we'll override the public function destroy. And the destroy function clears everything and destroys it from memory. These functions are pretty self-explanatory, but they are just the main operations our GUI basic screen goes through in its self-management. Let's go back now to our main class. Let's create a variable of our game screen. We'll call it game. Now, in our onComplete function, we can instantiate this variable and submit it to the screen manager. Game, new game screen, element IDs, dot game screen. New sweep down, which is a transition. And finally, we'll add our screen manager to the stage. Screen manager dot instance dot submit screen, and we'll submit our game screen. Just a quick note on cleanliness in your code before we wrap up this tutorial. You'll notice that instead of typing in a string for our screen ID, we've typed in a variable from another class. A convention we like at Gingy is to create enumeration classes that essentially have variables that hold all of our necessary strings. This avoids the common mistake of mistyping a string, because a mistyped variable will immediately show you that the variable doesn't exist. If you want to create a class that does this, here's how you do it. We're going to create a new package under com Gingy Deep Turtle called settings and enum. Inside here, we'll create a new class called element IDs. This is a super simple class which just contains public static variables that can be called from any class. As previously mentioned, these variables contain commonly used strings. In our case, we want to create a game screen variable that contains the ID game. This is the ID we'll pass through to our game screen when we submit it to the screen manager. So in our element IDs class, let's type public static const game underscore screen string equals game. Back in our main class, let's add the screen manager as a child to our screen. And then using our screen manager, we'll go to the screen element IDs.game underscore screen. That's all for game screens. Thanks for watching.